school, but I was Protestant, so there was a little bit of a conflict of interest there, because as a Protestant I felt that the Catholics were worshipping statues and things like that, but at the same time I was very jealous of all the rituals and the beautiful churches of Catholics. I think at one point I started studying the Bible a lot because we had to go to Sunday school, and but then at one point I realized as a kid that God was a bit of a patriarchal force, and I started getting angry with God, which was quite funny. And I decided not to believe in him anymore because I felt it was very unfair, especially things like men could have 5 women or 5 wives, and women were possessions, and hardly any empowering women in the Bible. So that was, for me, even as a little child, I understood it didn't feel right to me. So I think I stopped being religious. But then when I grew up, I think I actively started looking for spirituality, but not because I wanted to, but because my life led me onto that path when I was 27 again. So in between that, I was totally, an atheist. I was empirical. I know that my brother was always meditating and reading set books, and I thought he was crazy. I thought he was totally mad. And I thought that I knew the world. Of course, I knew what was happening. There is no God. There is nothing out there. We died and yeah, that's it. So when I was 27 again, a lot of things happened that didn't make sense to my rational, logical mind. And I started questing, reading books, visiting psychics, actually just to prove that they were phony. I can imagine how rigorous I am. I'm very, very warrior-like in my quest. And but as I went from psychic to psychic, from mediums to all these people who are really in touch with the other world, I realized that actually there were a lot of things that I didn't understand. There were a lot of things that went beyond the material world. So I started reading books about science and paranormal activity, and that's how I actually expanded my mind. So, but I do remember that while that happened, I was a lawyer, and a few of my lawyer friends were really concerned because they thought I was going to go mad. And I actually felt very lonely then, because there were so few people that really supported my spiritual quest for identity and meaning in life. And that to me was a bit of a turning point, that if you want to understand the truth of life, why are we here? Is there an afterlife? Do we have a purpose? Why are we here? If you want to answer all these questions, a lot of people feel very uncomfortable with it, and you actually have to do these things almost by yourself in a way. And of course, thankfully, slowly I started getting to know a lot of friends who also were a little bit weird, and we were reading the same books, and my friends saw that I wasn't going mad, so they left me alone. They didn't try to talk me out of it anymore, and so I became more self-reliant on actually really finding my own path. And at one point I was still very skeptical, because I would always lean towards the scientific books first. So for instance, I would rather read a book by Barbara Brennan, who was a NASA scientist who became a healer, than read somebody who was never a scientist. The other books that I started reading was, for instance, Brian Weiss, because he was a doctor or a psychiatrist. And people who had some kind of academic credibility, those were the people that I would read first, because I had, it was too big of a leap for me to go from actually being a lawyer, not believing in anything, to actually thinking there's more that meets the eye. So when I was reading the books, I started meeting a lot of people that started saying to me, "Angelique, you have healing hands." And when that happened, I thought, what are they talking about? So suddenly I started, people started saying, "Why don't you read books around that topic. Started reading books. Reading books doesn't help you if you have healing hands, because you see a lot of pictures with aura, fields, and you think, what are they talking about? So at one point suddenly I decided I want to work with a healer. Let's see what they do. And actually this healer was actually a scientist herself in Holland. She became a healer because she had to heal herself from a disease, and she was actually designing a course teaching people how to get in touch with their healing ability. And when I started training with her, I was just so open-minded. I really wasn't aware of actually what she was teaching. And apart from teaching us healing, like real healing people and developing your psychic intuition, she also started teaching us manifestation processes, but she never explained that she was teaching us the Abraham processes. So I was just like, oh, this is just part of the healing curriculum. So she gave us homework, and the homework was segment intentions, placemat process, gratitude, and feeling and acting as if. And I just thought, what is she talking about? But this is part of the training, so I'll do it. And so every day I would write down what I wanted. And I realized actually later, a year later, that everything I wrote down had come to pass. Like, I was living in Holland then, and I started thinking, actually I would like to live in London, and I would like to work for an amazing firm, and I would like to have a really glamorous lifestyle, working with the best companies. I would like to go to the best places to wine and dine clients and network, and I would like to live in an apartment at the river. When I was writing that down, I thought, I cannot afford that. I mean, how can I ever earn that enough money to really do that? But basically, suddenly I got 4 job offers for London. And even though I had no experience in London, all the companies wanted to work with me. And in the first week when I was in London, my job, I was invited to go to the Claridge's. And then I went to the Ivy. It was like a crazy lifestyle. And I was, within a year in London, I was living in a house overlooking a marina with all these yachts, which was my dream of living near the water in London. And I also met an amazing man that, met all the criteria. So I realized that there was something weird around this manifestation. But living so long in London, London has an impact on you. So for 4 years I sort of got out of it. I stopped doing segment intentions, I stopped doing placemat process. I actually didn't even know that they were from Abraham. So I just basically went about living my life in London, and 4 years later I was extremely stressed and not happy, meaning my job was very stressful. My relationships weren't going the way that I wanted, and out of pure desperation I decided, well, 4 years ago when I was training with my teacher, all these amazing things happened, and it was because I had a spiritual attitude, or I had a spiritual mindset, and I was focusing on what I wanted. So out of pure desperation, without even knowing that I was actually doing Abraham processes, I bought a book again, and I started writing down what I wanted. And then I was organizing meetup events, and I found the Law of Attraction meetup. So I went to the Law of Attraction workshops in London, and then I found out that the things that I was doing, segment intentions, etc., were actually Abraham processes. And of course I was so curious that I had to know everything. So I started buying audiobooks and books, and I bought 3 or 4 at the same time, and I started listening to them like crazy, like mad. Like I would listen to a book maybe 4 or 5 times. Like I had to know everything about it. And so it really shifted my life. And because I was so unhappy in my life then, I really thought, I'm gonna give it a try. I will basically apply it to the to the utmost, not just try it a little bit, but basically focus laser sharp on what I want, not even look back to the things that I don't want. Don't even talk about things that you don't like. So, and it was very interesting because a lot of my friends, for instance, were saying, oh, how are you doing? oh, how was the breakup with the ex, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, I don't want to talk about it. I think I would want to talk about what I do want. And people are really surprised by it, because normally we go on a tangent around what is not working and why is he such a bastard, and oh, how unhappy I am and how much I should blame people. And now I was like, no, I don't want to talk about it. Let's talk about what is good. So I think it sort of like really had an effect on my friendships as well, because this bonding around wounding and this bonding around, you know, pain and suffering, it just didn't work for me anymore. And I realized that I actually was feeling much better. And so that was the turning point, when I felt that just applying the processes and just shifting my focus on what I did want, and really disregarding reality, just trusting that if I asked for a certain reality to come into my life, that I actually had to become a vibrational match first. When I really started living that, the things started shifting so quickly, mostly within 1 or 2 weeks, that I thought there is a reality to this that I cannot ignore. And if things happen or they don't happen, I cannot blame anybody. So it really made me wake up and grow up. And so I started challenging myself. So I was still in my job, but I started manifesting that I was running my own companies, that I was running retreats and workshops abroad, and had oversubscribed workshops, and that everybody was loving my workshops and things like that. I was manifesting things around e-courses that I would develop. So I started fantasizing about what is the dream life that I would like to have, and I made vision boards, and yeah, lo and behold, these things started happening in my life. Like really weird things would happen, and at one point I really knew that vibrational reality is a fact, and I couldn't really think that this is just an experiment anymore. I knew that actually my thoughts become reality, and that the vibrations that I offer mean that I am a co-creator, and I'm either a deliberate co-creator or I co-create by default. And that the few things that weren't working in my life, I just had to set the vibrational, I had to change the vibrational set points. And so one of the areas where I started experimenting was my weight, because no matter what diet I was doing or how much exercise I was doing, I still felt fat. And so I started manifesting, writing down as segment intentions how thin my body was and how amazing my metabolism was. I had a metabolism of an athlete. I could eat anything I want, and actually right now, you know, I actually do eat everything I want, and I've never been so thin. And it's quite amazing how actually you can really reprogram your subconscious, and or you can really mold your body into a new shape just by thinking different thoughts about your metabolism, about how your body deals with food, and you know, actually owning your power as a co-creator. So I really enjoyed that. Right now I'm teaching Law of Attraction workshops. I've actually broken down Esther and Jerry's channelings into what I would call competencies of Law of Attraction, because I feel as an ex-headhunter, it really helped me to think about the law of attraction and how you apply it in terms of actual competencies, so that you could really see where you are going wrong. So my students really react to it very well. It really clarified for me as well where I go into the wrong direction, whether it's my belief or whether it's my vibrations or whether it's my vision, whether it's the actions I take. So I've broken it down in certain competencies, and I really live it, meaning that right now every day there is no day that I will not start the day with actually maybe, you know, getting into the right vibrational alignment first before I take action. I actually don't even believe in taking action. I believe in aligning first in my vibrations and in my expectations. And there are certain days that if I feel I'm not in the right vibration, meaning there's too much contradicting emotions in myself, my first priority is to really do a focus wheel or to do some kind of process where I give thanks, I pre-pave the reality before I even take action. And the astonishing thing is that, you know, sometimes you can do that and the same day these things will come into your life. And so there's this really weird reality that I still have to accept, that actually everything that happens is due to me, you know, because sometimes it's really hard to accept, especially when it is, when it's regarding things that are sometimes called contrasting, because you can manifest like crazy. Things can come in, like you write something down, a few hours later these things happen, but if you don't feel good, if you're out of the vortex, you also experience a lot of suffering. And so my whole purpose now in life is actually to be in alignment with Source, and it's to really be in tune with the broader part of me. And this is also what I teach, and actually everybody gets it, that it's not about the result, it's not about the money you make, it's actually about you being in alignment with who you really are. And so that means seeing, feeling, and living the life, knowing that you are a powerful co-creator, and that everybody creates their own reality, and that the only thing you can and have to do is appreciate. So at the same time, you know, if I feel really good and I walk around blessing things, and I walk around appreciating everything, you know, appreciating my clothes, appreciating my Mac, appreciating people in the tube running, the stairs of the tube, you know, crazy things, the water, you know, it's a playful life, because you start to see divinity in every aspect of life, and you feel so connected and grounded at the same time, and miracles happen, synchronicities happen. I can't explain it, it just sounds very weird. I do know that people think sometimes that you're crazy, because, for instance, I don't even want to read the newspapers if it's really bad news. I say, well, I don't want to focus on it because it makes me feel bad. And some people think that you're selfish, that you don't want to see reality. But I really say, you know, I want to take full responsibility for feeling good, so that I can actually contribute from that place of being in alignment with who I am. And actually, when people do come to me and they are suffering, for instance, and it happens a lot with my clients, all I have to do is remind them of the choices that they have, and try to be in a place of actually not getting myself out of the vortex to pull them into the vortex, but actually staying in the vortex and really mirroring to them that they are, you know, a powerful co-creator, and that, you know, when they are out of the vortex, that actually it is because they have forgotten, and that is the pain that they then experience. Funny enough, I do experience it as very painful when I'm out of the vortex. The contrast seems just quite big. So if you ask me, you know, what happens if you're out of the vortex? I mean, you know, I'm in pain. It's just really weird. It's like there is such a big contrast to being in the vortex and being out of the vortex, and I actually don't know how to explain it and whether other people experience it the same way. But the joy and the flow and the absolute the zone that you're in when you're in the vortex, everything falling into place, and that, you know, that feeling of trust, you know, that everything is well, that all is well, is such a big difference with when you're struggling upstream. And of course I still struggle upstream sometimes, but what I do know now is that when I struggle upstream, I really have to call myself back. I say, hey, what are we doing? We keep creating out of chaos. And I still do it sometimes. Like the last time I did it was HSBC sent me a new secure pin key code or something. And it didn't go well the first time I logged on. And then I was totally out of alignment and I kept doing it. I kept pushing the buttons and cursing, and I thought, oh no, I'm out of the vortex right now. This is not going well. And actually I was struggling with that little thing for like an hour. And then I thought, okay, Angelique, you really have to start thinking differently about this secure key pin code. And of course I was calling HSBC help desk, and so, you know, sometimes I still see myself struggling upstream and, you know, working hard, but actually most of the time I can say to myself, don't do it. Get yourself into alignment first, pre-pave reality, and then allow it to happen. So getting myself out of resistance is a big part of my day job. It's like my day job is to be in a mode of allowing. And it's actually really an art. Allowing is you know, I actually have to really understand what it is still. I think I still do it by default. I think I know how to get into it, but sometimes you can get out of it so quickly. So to be consistent, and maybe that's a big thing to ask, you know, do I really want to feel good all the time? Do I really want to feel joy all the time? What I do know is that what I realize now is that when I feel pain, I am believing something that causes me to suffer, and that is a partial reality, and that I don't have to choose, you know, to engage in that reality, or to even invest, you know, more time and energy in that reality. So right now, as soon as I see that I'm going off in the direction of what I don't want, I can actually really say, okay, turn around, like literally turn around. What do I want? And actually, even for instance with conflicts or difficult relationships I'm building to websites, well, I can imagine that sometimes there are some upsets with website developers. That actually I try not to go into, you know, a conflict mode, or, you know, who's right or wrong. I actually try to just sit in a place of, I appreciate the team, I appreciate what they're doing, I'm celebrating that this website is launching and that everything is working well. And it's so weird to live like that, because it feels as if you are not engaging with reality. You're almost pre-paving reality all the time. So much so that I was in holiday. I was in Jordan with a friend, and he asked me, Angelique, I know you're here, but I know you're already in Ibiza. I said, it's true, because I'm here and I'm really grateful for this amazing resort that we're in, but I'm also already pre-paving what I'm doing in Ibiza. And that's a really weird thing. It's like you're in the now, but you're also always pre-paving the future, giving thanks for things that will come. And it's like living in several parallel realities at the same time. But it's fun. It's fun. I wouldn't do it the other way around. Another thing I would like to say is that before I did the processes, I think I was really coming from a place of the healing paradigm, meaning I was always seeing myself in a place of work in progress, meaning I still have this to heal, I still have this little thing to heal, and when I'm totally healed, that's when my life will be perfect. And of course that day would never come, because I kept focusing on the wounds, and I kept focusing on other people's wounds, and I kept focusing on what was wrong, and I kept focusing on, you know, my lack of wholeness, and the law of attraction processes and the teachings of Abraham have really put a stop to that. And I really saw there was a huge parallel to me being very, very attracted to the law of attraction teachings and the Course in Miracles teachings, which were also about the unconditioned self. And those two teachings combined, you know, which were all about happiness and love and unconditional love and appreciation of people and life, they really changed my life. I mean, I think for the first time in my life, I'm quite fearless, meaning that actually, what is fear? What is the worst thing that can happen? You know, you die, okay, whatever. So, and it's really, there's so much freedom in being fearless and just actually following your intuition and following, you know, your impulse of actually, there is no right or wrong. Wherever I'm gonna go, you know, I have the power to appreciate things and to make things right, or to attract the right people to me or the right circumstances. It's that kind of mindset. It's not like, you know, and if I don't want to do something, I don't have to do it. You know, so there's not this paradigm anymore of, oh gosh, I have this certain karma, things are happening to me because I've done something wrong in a past life. I have to like pay for it now, you know. I used to think like that, and so I used to suffer. But right now I'm like, no, actually, even if I have karma, I can still, the moment of the now is so powerful that in this now, I can really undo a lot of the things that I might have done in other lives. I do believe in other lives, but I also believe that the moment of the now, it's a pivotal, crucial, you know, turning point every ticking second, and every second counts. So a universe is open and closed as you offer a vibration in this moment of the eternal now. So yeah, it's an amazing journey. I think if you would look at my notebook, which I have notebooks now, with all my segment intentions and placement processes and rampage of appreciation. It's full of the words joy, you know, love and appreciation and gratitude. And I think the positive psychologists, you know, Martin Seligman and people like that, and Robert Holden, I mean, they're really right that, you know, our focus really determines our state of mind, our attitude, and our biology. So right now, you know, there's so much scientific evidence as well that actually what you focus on becomes your wiring, becomes your biology and your neurochemistry. So if you want to feel different and if you want to create a new reality, you have to think differently, because you have to, and sometimes you have to see it before it's even there, and then the reality comes to you that matches this new vision that you have. And so, and to me it has it's not airy-fairy, there's a real reality to it. And I think the more I compare it as well with successful business leaders that I used to interview for my headhunter job, I can actually see a lot of parallels to how they were being successful leaders, running huge companies, being responsible, you know, for big divisions of multinational companies, and how they, in their own way, even without knowing, were probably applying a lot of the, I think, the positive thinking, or it's actually beyond positive thinking, the co-creator type of competencies of deliberate co-creation. Because these leaders were mostly fearless, they had vision, they would see beyond reality, they would co-create deliberately, meaning they were always brought in when there were problems and nobody knew how to solve it, but they would come in trusting that there was a way, and they would come in and have laser sharp focus on results and what would work, not on what wouldn't work. And so, you know, if you draw the parallels between actually the law of attraction teachings of, you know, what you think becomes reality, I think a lot of very successful business people and entrepreneurs and artists and really powerful manifestors, they might not know about Abraham, they might never have, you know, might not even think they're spiritual, but actually they are, you know, applying spiritual principles in their life, and that's why they're getting the results they're getting. The only thing I don't know about these successful leaders is how much they're in touch with the joy of creation, because sometimes what I've seen in corporate life is that corporate life is so much about the bottom line. It's so much about, you know, the quarterly results. It's about how much profit are we making, what is, can we sell this company, for a multiple, we want to make a profit, and that really takes actually the joy sometimes out of, I think, being a leader. Whereas, right now there are so many spiritual teachers who are also teaching us about the joy of money and the joy of creating money. So I'm really interested in that. I've been reading a lot of books on it, and I've been working with those concepts in my workshops and my teachings. And so I want to bring money away from this materially focused aspect of what I call survival. I think a lot of people still offer the vibration of survival when they think about money, and that's why I think money, when people are just trying to manifest, winning the lottery, etc., they aren't in the mindset of actually, I have to offer the vibration of money is just a co-creation, and it's just like energy, like water and air. They're still coming from the place of the unconscious offering of vibration is around survival. And so yeah, there's a lot I could talk about. I could talk for hours.